In 2026, the Canadian government has rewritten the rule books for international students, and most African applicants are still applying with the 2023 information. That's a problem because the Canada of 2024 is gone, and the Canada of 2026 does not play by the same old rules anymore. Canada has now introduced what they call a hard cap on study permits. They changed who can work after graduation. They restricted the spousal work permits. They raised the proof of funds threshold, and they now require language tests for work permit you used to get automatically before. Now, if you're applying to study in Canada this year, 2026, or next year, 2027, and you don't understand these 5 changes, you could spend thousands of dollars on application fee. You can even get admitted to school and still end up being rejected. Or worse, you could even arrive in Canada, right? Start your program and discover, oh, you have no pathway to stay. Now, here are 5 new Canada rules African students keep getting wrong in 2026. And more importantly, exactly what to do about each one of these rules. Number 1, the provincial attestation letter. If you don't know what a PAL is in 2026, I'll be honest, you're not ready to apply yet. Now, here's what happened. In January 2024, Canada announced a cap on international students. Now, for 2026, the government is processing a maximum of 309,670 study permit applications across the entire country. That's the ceiling. Once a province exhausts its allocation, they stop accepting students and stop issuing PAL. Without a PAL, your study permit application will not even be processed. They will return it. They will not refund your application fee. Now, here's what you need to understand. The PAL is not something you apply directly from your government or from the government itself of Canada, but the process works like this. Step 1, you apply to a designated learning institution, what we call a DLI. When you get admitted, you go to step 2. Step 2 is paying your admission deposit. Step 3, the school applies to the provincial government on your behalf, right? Requesting a PAL slot for you. Then step 4, the province issues the PAL to your school. And step 5, the school sends it to you. Only then can you apply for your study permit. So you see, it's a 5-step process that you have to know and do before you can apply for your study permit. And this is where many African students get stuck. They get admitted, they celebrate, they tell their parents, and they discover that the province has already exhausted its PAL allocation for that intake. And now they have to defer by a full semester or a full year in some cases because there are simply no more slots for them. Here's the good news though. For 2026, if you are applying for a master's degree or for a doctoral degree at a public university, you are now exempt from the PAL requirement. That's a new one though, but it started in January 1st, 2026. So instead of a PAL, you submit a letter explaining that you're in an exempt category. But for everyone else, if you're coming for a bachelor's degree, a college diploma degree, a certificate program, you need to have a PAL. So my advice, step 1, when you are shortlisting schools and determining or trying to think which one do I apply to, do not just look at the tuition, right, or the ranking. I would say contact the school. Each school, they have the international student office. Ask them directly these questions. How many PAL slots did your province receive this year, right? And also, how many PAL availability do you still have in your school, right? Then step 2, apply early. The PAL is not a rolling process, right? Once they are gone, they are gone. Step 3, have a backup plan just in case anything happens. Now, if September is full, can you do January? Right? So step 4, if you qualify for a master's or a PhD in a public university, prioritize those applications first. The PAL exemption alone saves you time and it saves you weeks of processing your whole study permit. So do not be the student who pays admission fees, who gets accepted, and then cannot apply for a study permit just because there's no PAL slot available. This is preventable, so plan around it. Number 2, the post-graduation work permit. The rules have changed more in the last 2 years than they did before in the past, right? Now, if you don't understand what qualifies now, you could definitely graduate and discover, oh, I have no pathway to work in Canada. Here's the truth most people don't tell you. Before 2024, the PGWP was almost automatic. Graduate from an eligible DLI, and within 180 days apply, and you got a work permit. That was it. That was simple. That was straightforward. Today, there are 3 new hurdles. The first hurdle is the language requirement. Since November 2024, every PGWP applicant must submit language test results. Now, if you graduate from, let's say, a bachelor's degree or a master's degree or a doctoral program, you need a Canadian language benchmark of at least level 7, I believe, in all 4 skills. So talking about listening, speaking, reading, writing. That is roughly for IELTS score of 6.0 in each band. Now, if you graduate from a college diploma or a certificate program, you need CLB level 5. Now, here is what catches most people. You cannot use the same test results you submitted for your study permit application 2 or 3 years ago. Now, the PGWP language tests must be recent, so typically less than 2 years old. So while you are in your final semester, my advice for you is you to book a new IELTS or a new CLPIP test, right? Do not wait until after graduation, because then you don't have much time. Book it during your final term. Second, the field of study requirement. Now, this is the one that's caused the most confusion among international students. Now, for 2026, the Canadian government froze the PGWP eligible field list to 1,107 programs. Now, these fall under 6 broad categories: healthcare, social services, STEM, talking about science, technology, engineering, mathematics, skilled trades, right? Agriculture, and of course, agri-food, education also, and I believe transport. But here is what you need to understand. If your program is not on the eligible list, you will not get a PGWP, regardless of your grades, regardless of the language score, regardless of anything that you've done. So before you accept any admission from any school, go to the ROCC website, search for the PGWP field of study requirements, find your program CIP code. That's the classification of instructional programs code. Again, it's called the classification of instructional program code. Check to see if your study you want to do is on the list, or if it's not, then ask yourself, am I okay to study in Canada with no work permit at the end? It's up to you at that point. Third, the public-private partnership program. Canada now has tightened this significantly, because if you are studying in Canada at a private university that delivers a public college curriculum under a licensing agreement, your PGWP eligibility is now restricted or is completely eliminated in many cases. The government is targeting programs they consider visa miles, so schools that were bringing in international students not just for education but as a backdoor to immigration. The government has put a hold to that. Here is my advice. Before you accept any offer, verify 3 things. Is my program on the PGWP field of study list? What language score do I need for a PGWP at my program level? And lastly, is my school a public DLI or a private college with a partnership agreement? Now, if you cannot answer all 3, I would say stop. Get the answers first, because paying for a degree that gives you a 0 pathway to work in Canada, that is no plan at all. For me, it's a trap and a waste of money. Now, number 3, if you are married and planning to bring your spouse to Canada, listen carefully. This one change alone has derailed many African students' plans than almost anything else in the last year. Before January 2025, the rule was simple. If you had a valid study permit, your spouse could apply for an open work permit. They could work for any employer in any province, in any job. That was the deal, right? But the deal has changed. Starting January 21, 2025, the spousal open work permits are now reserved for a very narrow group. Your spouse can only get an open work permit if you are studying in one of the three categories now. Category 1, a master's degree program that's at least 16 months long. Category 2, a doctoral program. Category 3, one of the 11 specific professional degree programs. So things like Doctor of Dental Surgery, Juris Doctor, or Bachelors of Law, Doctor of Medicine, Doctor of Optometry, Pharmacy, Doctor of Veterinary Medicine, Bachelor of Science in Nursing, Bachelor of Education, I think Bachelor of Engineering as well. Now, if you're studying in a bachelor's degree in business, your spouse cannot work. A diploma in IT cannot work. A certificate in project management cannot work. A one-year master program technically ineligible. It must be 18 months or longer. Now, here's what you need to understand about what this actually means for you. Let's say you get admitted to a 2-year bachelor's degree program in let's say Ontario, right? You're married, your spouse is coming with you. You need to pay a rent. And let's say a shared room in Toronto is between 800 to 1,200 Canadian dollars a month. You need groceries, transport, you have phone bills. Your spouse is legally present in Canada with you, but they cannot earn a single dollar. Every expense falls on you, and you are limited by law to 24 hours of work per week while studying. This is where many African couples make a devastating mistake. They plan their budget based on 2 incomes. They calculate, I'll work 24 hours, my spouse will work 40 hours, that's 64 hours of income. That maths no longer work. So what can you do about it? Here are 4 practical solutions. Solution 1, I would say prioritize a master's or doctoral program at a public university. Not only do you get the PAL exemption, your spouse can work as well, and your PGWP is more straightforward. Solution 2, I would say if a bachelor's degree or diploma is your only option at the moment, your spouse should explore their own independent pathway, their own study permit or work permit through a different program. Solution 3, budget for a single income household. Assume that your spouse cannot work at all, right? If they eventually qualify for something, that's a bonus, not your plan. Solution 4, consider whether your spouse stays in your home country and works while you study. It's hard, I know, it's emotionally difficult, but financially smart. It may be the only sustainable option for you at that moment. But this is the reality though. Please do not build your entire financial plan around a spousal work permit that may or may not exist for you. So check the IRCC website. Confirm your program qualifies first for that, then budget accordingly. Number 4, the proof of funds. Now, the Canadian government has raised the bar, unlike before, and African students are getting caught off guard. As of 2026, a single student applying for a study permit must now show proof of almost 23,000 Canadian dollars. Let me say that again. About 23,000 Canadian dollars. And that's just for your living expenses for your first year. It does not include your first year tuition. That does not include your flight. That does not include your health insurance or your books or your winter clothing. Now let's do the real maths. If you are applying for an undergraduate program at a mid-range university with a tuition fee of about 15,000 to 25,000 Canadian dollars per year, add the almost $23,000, let's say $23,000 living expenses, add $1,500 for your flight, add $1,000 for settlement cost, your first month's rent deposit, winter clothing, basic furniture, you are looking at needing to show almost 40 to 42,000 40 to 50,000 Canadian dollars, or about 28 to 36,000 US dollars before a visa officer will even consider to look at your application. Here's the truth. A lot of African students see this number of money and think, okay, I just need to show that I have this much money of $23,000 Canadian dollars? No. The visa officer needs to see that the money in your account is genuinely yours, right? And that they can see that the account has been active for at least the last 4 months. So you've been withdrawing and putting money back, ideally 6 months. But if you borrow money from a relative and deposit in your account a week before you apply, the government can see it. And if your bank statement shows a large unexpected deposit, let's say a week ago, they will ask questions. If the story of your financial document doesn't make sense to the embassy staff, they will reject you. Now, here's what you need to understand about your options. Canada accepts several forms as proof of funds. Option 1, and this is the strongest, a guaranteed investment certificate. So a GIC from a participating Canadian bank, like let's say Scotiabank, CIBC or RBC. You deposit the money, it is held in a special account, right? And it is released to you in installments when you arrive. Now, this tells the visa officer that your money is real, and it also gives you a Canadian bank account even before you land. Option 2, a student or educational loan sanction letter from a recognized bank. Some options I can think of now is Empower Financing, right? Prodigy Finance, and several African banks that now offer loans specifically for international students. Option 3 could be your parents or your relative that's sponsoring you, but you need their bank statement, right? Their employment letter and an affidavit of support that's telling the government that yes, truly, this person is going to be your sponsor, and this is the relationship between you and the person. Option 4, if you have paid your first year tuition and your housing upfront, include those receipts, right? They reduce the amount of liquid cash you need to show as proof of fund. My advice is simple. Start building your proof of funds 6 months before you apply. Not just 6 weeks or 4 weeks, not 6 days, 6 months. Open a dedicated savings account if you need to. Eat into the money slowly so your average balance is high. And when you apply, present clean, consistent, traceable documents, because a messy bank statement with an explained deposit or in and outflow of cash is worse than a smaller bank statement that tells a clear story. Now, the visa officer is not checking if you are rich, they are checking if you are a genuine person. Number 5, this is the one I need you to take most seriously. Do not budget as if your part-time job will pay all the bills for you when you come here, because it will not. In late 2024, Canada increased the off-campus work limit from 20 hours to 24 hours per week during academic sessions, and that is about 96 hours a month. And if, for example, in Ontario that we used before, a minimum wage is roughly $17.20 Canadian dollars per hour in 2026. That's about 1,650 Canadian dollars before tax. After deduction, maybe $1,300 to $1,400. Now let's do the expense math. And I want you to really have these numbers and follow me. Now, rent for a shared room in Toronto or Vancouver is about $800 to $1,200 Canadian dollars. Groceries is about $300 to $400. Phone bills about $50 to $80. Internet about $50 to $70. Transport about $100 to $150. And that's about $1,300 to $1,900 in basically monthly expenses. And if you're earning, for example, $1,300 to $1,400 at best, do you see the problem? You're barely breaking even. And that's if you work every single hour you're allowed, every single week with no gap, no exam week where you can't work, no holidays where your employer gives you fewer hours, no semester adjustment period where you are still figuring everything out. And this budget does not even include emergencies now. It doesn't include your phone breaking or needing to see a doctor or your laptop dying in the middle of a semester. It's a lot to think of and a lot to put together. So here's what I want you to do differently. Instead of picking a school based on its name or its ranking, I would say pick a school and a province you can actually afford. The difference between Toronto and somewhere like Winnipeg or Halifax can be $500 to $700 a month in rent alone. So over 4 years, that's about $24,000 to $33,000 you do not have to earn, borrow, or find. But here are practical steps you can take. Step 1, research cost of living by city before you choose a school, right? Not just the tuition alone, total cost including rent, transport, food, and living expenses, other living expenses as well too. Step 2, budget as if you earn $0 from part-time work in your first semester. Now, if you earn something, that's your emergency fund, right? Step 3, I would say look for an on-campus jobs. They pay better than off-campus minimum wage in many cases, and they are more flexible around your school and around your class schedule. Step 4, apply for scholarships. Canada has institutional scholarships, provincial scholarships, and external scholarships specifically for African students. Do not assume that there's nothing for you. Search for them, apply for them, ask questions. Every $1,000 you get in scholarship money is $1,000 you don't have to earn at $17 an hour. Moreover, budget like your life depends on it. I always say this because truly it does. The fastest way to burn out, to drop out, and to go back home with debt is to arrive in Canada with no financial cushion and hope that the math somehow works for you. It will not. Plan for reality. Here is what I want you to take away from this. Canada is still one of the best places in the world for international students, specifically African international students, to study, to work, and to build a future. The educational quality is world class. The post-study work pathway, if you qualify, is more generous than most other places around the world, and Canadian society genuinely values immigrants. But the game has changed. The rules are tighter, the competition is fiercer, the margin for error is smaller, and the students who succeed in 2026 are not the ones who apply the fastest or to the most schools. They're the ones who plan smarter. So here's my challenge to you. Before you spend $1 on application fee, sit down and answer 5 questions. Number 1, does my program and designated learning institution really qualify for a provincial attestation letter, or am I exempt? Number 2, does my program qualify for the post-graduation work permit, and what language test score do I need? Number 3, will my spouse be able to work, and if not, what is my alternative plan? Number 4, do I have a clean, traceable proof of funds covering both my living expenses and my tuition? Number 5, is the city I'm moving to one I can actually afford on a student budget? Now, if you can answer all these 5 questions with confidence, you're ready. But if you cannot, please go back and get the answers first. Make research, sit down, plan. So if you found this video helpful, please share it with one person who's thinking about studying in Canada. DM me at igowithIGHO on Instagram. If you have questions, if you have concerns, if you have any worries at all, I answer personally. And yes, of course, please subscribe to our channel because I'm making more of these videos, one country at a time. Until next time, stay smart, stay prepared, and go with ego. Thank you.